Heading back into slides for last week's DMR, where we left off. If you recall, I made some extra slides thinking I was going to mount up for Thursday, a cover for CAR. It's all good. It's just got ahead. That's great. We're going to look, it's a very important subject here, we're going to look at fractional relationships in regard to the market maker cycle. I'm going to try to make this easy. This might be a section that you want to review a couple times. I'm going to hit this material a few times in the future as well. Certainly the next class we do, when Steve does his next class, I'll go into this, and as well probably the next couple DMRs, because I want you to see this part of the business, and it is really simple. And I think when people see this word fractional disparity, fractional relationships, it conjures complexity, but really it's very, very simple. So we're going to talk about diversifying positions to amplify gains. What does that mean? All right, you see a chart here. We have news coming 5 a.m. It is a AFP to the long side. Why? We have this big, huge W formation. They closed at the extremist structure, a little bit off of it, maybe 15 pips off the structure, and then they're coming back and they're hitting the previous trap area right around the 5 a.m. news candle. So we're looking at a nice news trade here. Paul, hope you're doing, would most likely fire away from peak. And we're saying to ourselves, well, I can have my primary order in EU, as it looks like they're starting to give me a first leg here. If they give me a second leg, I'm in EU. Now, what other crosses might I take that might move more than EU? I might be able to grab 50, 70 pips out of EU, but maybe one of the other crosses is going to give me 100, 150. Right? So that's the question you're asking. Can I diversify my position to amplify my gains? Basic question, can I get more bang for my buck in other pairs? That's what's great about tracking the crosses and the majors together. You can find a certain pair is going to move further. Now, one caveat to this, I did try a lot. There are a lot of tools out there, and we're going to talk about indicators in the second section when I get into the evolution of the trader. But there are a lot of tools out there. I tried the momentum stuff, the the market strength meters and all that stuff. I don't like it. I think what Steve gave us is the best. And the best meaning the market maker cycle rules, because it's talking about inducement, trap, and shift. And that's all that you have to worry about in this market. Nothing else matters. All right, strength in one pair at level 3 can change on a dime, and it becomes strength the other direction. So how is an indicator going to tell you, oh, we've got strength in the yen and there's no strength in the euro? It's like, yeah, in a half hour it flips over. All right, so it's always using the past. Indicators are using the past. So strength meters, all that stuff, throw it out. I don't like it. I know there are other traders out there that are doing exceptionally well by using strength meters to try to see which pair is going to run the most, but I hang my hat on Steve's coat rack in terms of the way to spot the bigger movers is through the market maker cycle, period. Right? There is no easy way to say that. I think let's not complexify it. That's not a word, but complexify, let's not do it. Anyhow, make it simple. And we can do that. All right, so we're looking at EU. Now we're going to put all the pairs down that are possibilities for us to trade. We've got EA, EJ, EN, EC, and then the lower movers, EG and EF. If EU looks to give me 70 or more, is there a cross which may give me 100 or more? I'm trying to find the biggest mover. And I'll use the market maker cycle to do this. I'm not going to use no fancy hat tricks or these meters. I tried it. I did it for a couple months. I was into it for a minute, and sorry. Anyhow, hopefully you'll see what I'm talking about. So we're looking essentially at the euro in this chart. We have a very clear picture on what the E is doing. We're now asking ourselves, what is the J doing? What is the N doing? What is the C doing? What is the G doing? What is the F doing? We want to see if we can get something that's also going to look long in this case. All right? We've got the yen, we have the New Zealand, we have the CAD, we have the pound and the Swissy, and of course the Aussie to look at. So we're going to look at the individual majors themselves, right? We're going to look at the majors at this exact same time. We're doing our check down, right? We're at the hard edge here. We're a little into the session, so you're about ready to enter your trade perhaps, and you're asking yourself, what other pair could I get into? Well, I'm going to look at the Aussie, I'm going to look at the yen, I'm going to look at the New Zealand, I'm going to look at the CAD, pound, and maybe the Swiss. These two on the far right don't move as much, so I might eliminate those out the gate. But these are the choices of crosses to take. All right, the question is, where are they in the cycle? Where is the yen in the cycle? Where is the New Zealand in the cycle? Where is the CAD? That's the question. Where's the EA over here? Keeps disappearing. Where are those in the market maker cycle? This is the market maker cycle. Super easy. We know where the EU is in the cycle. It's in level 1. It's sitting right outside this W. So it's in level 1 long. All right, what I want to look for, if U is headed up, I want to find the other major which also looks to be headed up. And the key is to find which of the major is here. Is there a major in level 3 long? Is there a major in AFP, level 1 long? Can I find another major that looks like this chart right here, where they're either here or here? That's as simple as it gets, and that, honestly, friends, really is the magic key to discerning which pair is going to run the most. All right, so we're thinking there's many positions. Level 3 down we don't want, because that's going to run against our level 1 up in EU. So we're going to look for pairs up there. Level 1 down we don't want. Level 2 down we don't want. We want the level 3 long, and we want the AFP level 1 long. So we're going to look at the majors, and I'm going to ask you guys what you see, and give me a level count of what you see in these. All right. So that's basically what we're going to do. Start with the yen, and look at this yen chart. What do you guys see? What level are we in? What's your bias? Excellent. Excellent, excellent. Great question, Taji. I always look at the H1. I never have my eye on just the 15. I always have an H1 chart and a 15 open. Sometimes more. Sometimes a daily. All of them open. All right, anyhow. UJ, you guys 90% there. We're in level 3. All right, let's look at days of drop. See the step down, step down, step down, speed into the low, coming back, hitting this somewhere between these traps. TDI didn't give us the extreme, but you can see we're probably in level 3. We can anticipate a W here, right? We've been dropping for a few days. So you guys that said level 3 long, you're absolutely correct. So the J looks like a great contender. All right, that's in level 3 long. Now, let's have a look at the N. All right, this is NU. What do you see here, guys? Type it in. Yeah, John, you got that quick. Yep. Gene Franklin nailed it. Yeah, I mean, this is an easy one. It's already way in the deep side of TDI. You've had many days of rise. You've got your speed and acceleration up. That baby's looking like it's going to drop at some point. So that is level 2 going into level 3, we'll call it. So that eliminates the N. We're not going to look at EN. Okay, EA, let's go look at Aussie. What do you guys see here? It's a tricky one. But those that have been with me in the pre-markets and heard how I deal with level 1s will see beyond the simplicity of this one. You'll actually see what I'm seeing here. It's a tough one. All right. Not quite a level 1 long for one very interesting reason. I mean, yeah, it is between a level 1 long and a level 2 long. Let me show you why. Here was your original shift out of there. So they did this beautiful shift, at least 50 pips off of the close of the day, right? 50 pip run up. That gave you this W formation, peak formation. That's correct. But then they did do this secondary stop hunt, or shift rather, we'll call it. They did their secondary shift. Now, sometimes when they do the secondary shift, that's all you get. So that's why this is kind of tricky. It may drop, and in fact, this pair did drop. All right, so this is kind of a middle finger. Always be aware that the first shift out of there is the best one to be on. Doesn't mean you can't take the second or third one, but just be aware that this is them grabbing the stops of all the people that are short here after they've loaded up again or averaged in. So just be aware, especially in Aussie. A lot of times they'll do the shift in Asia gap time and then they'll turn it over. So AU turned over. So the correct answer to this one was sitting between 1 and 2. It looks like it was in 1, yes, so you're not mistaken. It was level 1, but they already ran up into level 2 and back. So it was between 1 and 2. So it was on the edge of maybe it won't be the best. So either way, you have that possibility that they might have already stop hunted. In fact, they did. So that eliminates the A. So we've got EA out of there, EN out of there. Let's look at EC. And in order to look at EC, what do we look at? We look at the C components. We're looking at the USD CAD. So USD CAD. And when you get this stuff under your belts, guys, and type in what you see here. What do you guys think the UC is? What level? When you get this stuff under your belts, guys, you will want to go out and buy a bunch of monitors. I have 623s, and it's still not enough, but I get by. You want to have enough monitors that you can actually watch all the majors. You'll start looking at this. You'll feel blind without them all up there. I love seeing all the majors. I want them a click away in multiple time frames, 15, 1 hour. I want to be able to see all the majors at all times. It's situational awareness. It's your peripheral. So you guys are nailing this one, obviously. We're way up in the high end of the TDI, many days of rise. This was an easy one. This is in level 3 to the downside. So if EU rises and UC drops, what do you get? You'll get chopped sideways in EU. So this is what we're talking about here, eliminating those that are in the cycle that are against the direction that we're looking for our primary pair to be in. All right, so we've eliminated all these. These pairs, EG and EF, there's no real reason to go look at the pound and the Swiss in this case because they're low-range pairs. All right, so we're not going to deal with those. The idea here is to pick which cross will run more than EU. And I know my man Paul is doing this in terms of looking at the news trades, because if you get a news trade in EU, you might as well look across at all the E's because they're going to run too. So EJ is the story at this point because of where it is in the cycle, right? Because of where J is in the cycle. The UJ is down here in level 3, and the EU is in level 1. Both of those are biased to the long side. That's probably the biggest mover. So EU in level 1 long plus USD-JPY in level long equals monkey ready for a space shot. All right, monkey's ready to go up. He goes up into orbit, and the Navy handles him with care when he comes back down. They did not abuse this monkey that they shot into space. The Navy was right there to pick him up. So God bless the U.S. Navy. All right, so close the day. What do you guys see here? This is the EJ. This would have already been on your charts. We've already had this on your check down list. You say, aha, EJ is also a. What do you see here? Yep, it's long, but it's what trade are you looking for out of this one? AFP, yes. So you have both EJ and EU and AFP. Right? That's an incendiary mix. Now we went back and we looked at the majors that comprise it because I wanted to give you guys that the bigger picture for getting the fractional relationships in order. Because once you have that house in order, my friends, you will know which way these things move. It's not a question of if. You will have a bead on which ones move the most too. So EJ is perfect. This cross would have already been on your AFP list. You already had this as AFP. Here we are just before the EU red news. Okay, gave a big stop hunt down. Now this is why I don't say it should be 75% or 618 or 382 or 50%, because it changes. They're going to stop hunt down wherever their book starts to build orders the other direction. And it can be all the way down into level 3. In this case, they don't come down into level 3. They do this big dig down here before news, and now we're sitting right before news. They've come up off of this. All right, so let's take it to the viewer. Thank you, Andrew. All right, so here's the viewer. Here's that first leg. Okay, here they come up, and we're talking 2:15 a.m. Remember, our news is at 5 a.m. So they come down and they hold at gap time. Okay, so they're holding here at gap time. And then watch what they do here. They come up and they come down. So here you have a composite W. Here is your first leg, second leg, closing on the other side of the catch-up. And then this would be actually, I'm going to call this 1 and 2. It's a W inside the range. Right? It's not absolutely perfect. We'd love for them to come back down to the low of day. Sometimes they don't do that. Nice shark fin. Sometimes they don't do that. Remember, we've talked about it before. Sometimes W's look like this. All right, so you want to have flashcards out. Look at the holographic version here. Here's your W there. Now they're about to do one of these kind of W's. So when you see this chart, let me get rid of that. When you see this chart looking like this, in 4:30, we're right before news, and 4:45, put your order on. All right, great place to get an order in. It's nice and calm. It's nice and peaceful. Your question is, are they going to come down here? At news, you're not sure. Now, what they did between 4:45 and 5 a.m. is that they slowly started just pumping this thing up. It just started running, so that by the time the news came, by the time 5 a.m. hit, boom, they were gone. Okay, so it was a very easy news trade for those that are not so much into news trades. This one was very easy, but again, you had to know that the W was one of these angled W's. You had to have that ahead of time. Hopefully, you've had flashcards that look like that. But again, there's so much going on the hard right edge. It's nice. 1, 2, this could be 2, and then 3 down. But you already had your pullback. Very, very nice place for them to turn it around. And of course, the news came out, just kablamo, went straight up. And this baby really ran within a couple candles. It was definitely monkey shot to the moon. All right, so that's what happened there. There was the trade I took, and I want to show you what I did because I think it's very good for you guys that are early in taking news trades. If you want to be cautious, now what I did was when I got in here, and I was somewhere in here, when I got in here I realized sometimes they open the spread wildly, and even though price went up to this point, sometimes they'll crank it back down and then bring it back up. In order to guard for that, what I did was I took a portion of my position off right at the top of this trap area, right here. So I took a portion of my trade off. I'm not sure if it was half. It probably was somewhere around half. I took a portion of my trade off, kept my stop loss below here. And I didn't do stop loss below low day. I was stop below the structure. And what that did was that bought me less risk. I was able to pull risk out because I don't know if the news comes out and they're going to come down and hit the stops and then run. So I wanted to get some risk off the table, and that's why I have that partial close there. All right. As we'll see in the evolution section coming up, I'm still not at the optimum stage. I'm still doing partial closes, which means that I'm not at the end result getting there, but that's all right. I want to be honest. On my way. Should hold the trades, all of them. Shouldn't take partials. You should hold trades. That's the objective. That's where we're headed. But anyway, here you can see my partial close, and then it ran way up. And lights out, baby. It was a big one. All right, so let's get into this next session. This is a very, very awesome section. I'm looking forward to this. We all should know this, and the reason that we should know this isn't so much for ourselves, but it's in case your trading group, there's someone in there that's not seeing it, or there's someone in there that you consider, we're going to be working with brand new traders in our lives. There might be an occasion where we bring someone into the teaching, and you invite them into the teaching. You have to hold their hand through this. You want to know where they are on the path of getting this material, and it's good to know at what stage they're at, so you can direct them and basically not kick them off the path, as it were, because if you show them that fractional information that I gave you to somebody just starting Steve's method, they might go, what are you talking about? So you want to make sure you give them information that's particular to their level of evolution. Very important. All right, so we've got evolution for the monkey, gives him a trade strong bracelet. Monkey turns into an ape, ape turns into a man, and then he becomes a self-contained hunter. Gatherer stands upright, and then he starts farming, then he starts working for the man, and down he goes into the computer. Becomes a monkey again. So that's the evolution that we want to avoid, but it's there nonetheless. Anyhow, humor aside, taking M's and W's, this is the very first step of, I remember my training in Beat the Market Maker method. My first level was taking M's and W's off the M15 chart only. It doesn't matter. I paid $5 grand. That means I'm going to be right every time because the guy's God, right? So taking M's and W's off the M15 chart only with no guidance from the higher time frames. All of us started here. Admit it. You know it. I'm right. You never looked at the higher time frames. It was just, oh, there's an M. Hey, there's a W. Take it. All right? Okay, it's all right. But what is the result? Market seems erratic, and results are hit and miss. And, of course, that becomes my first hate mail, which goes out to Steve because he must have scammed me. All right? So we all start here. We think it's just going to be an easy ride, grab the M's and W's, and it's all good. Oh, that blankety blank. And then I end up palling up with other pissed off traders. So there's this it's like the bird that hasn't left the nest yet. It's very susceptible to raptors, and you got to protect it, all right? So be very careful when you get someone in that's brand new and they start doing this kind of thing. You want to keep them from these other pissed-off traders. You want to protect them, all right? So the next step that they usually do, that I did, that we all do, okay, we've all done this, is incorporate now, since we're missing these trades, there's still some that go by. I'm still in the M15 chart. I'm not looking at the higher guidance. I'm not in the higher time frames yet. I'm not putting the time in to look at these trades. I started incorporating an array of indicators and other systems to see if that helps. All right, I might cheat this thing, right? And then, of course, I look at my MT4 platform fires up and I go, wow, looks like I got a brand new Build 600. Oh, congratulations on your new update. Fantastic. Oh, look at all the indicators. Oh, awesome. I'm going to use these with Steve's method, and everything's going to be great. I'm going to be like a monkey finger painting. Or it might be like this guy, really, truly causing some havoc. And I'm not going to listen to Carr and Joe and Steve and Jim that say, don't mix systems, don't bring other indicators in here. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to close my ears and hope everything's great. And, of course, it doesn't work out. Now I also send hate mail to the DMR crew for they must be in on the scam. Okay, you have a lot of this subjective skepticism. It's normal. It's natural. But the person hasn't done the work, so then they start posting to other forums and all that kind of stuff. So what I've found is that the person is really fired up. They're like, oh, this is great. I love it. That they're first class. They're like just beaming. They're, oh, it's going to be fantastic. I mean, I was this guy. I'll guarantee you. I was all blinged out and up all night. I didn't get any sleep. I got sick when I came back home from the first class. I was this guy. I'm going to kill this thing. Those are the guys that a lot of times don't put in the work. They think they can just get it. It's been $5 grand. I can just party out and still do this. It's okay. I'm a monkey. I can learn to drive a car without the work. Yeah, no problem. And then he gets awfully pissed off and he starts shooting things. I fortunately never got to this stage. But I was certainly here and I was certainly here. And we all have been here, right? We're thinking we're going to kill it, and you end up trying to take people out. So this is, and then the other quote, and I heard this from somebody at the session down at the Gaylord Palms in Florida for the first class I took of Steve Method 2011 January. I heard them come up to me and they said, this part about the levels, I think Steve is just making this stuff up. So you get all this skepticism that forms in people's brains. And they were pissed off. They were already the monkey, and I could see their teeth coming out. Yeah, it was one of these. And they flew to the class. They're at the class, and they're saying these levels is just garbage. I was like, wait a second. I haven't even learned this stuff. Why are you telling me this? So people that get pissed off will get other people pissed off. And you got to watch out for these guys. There's a point you get where you're like, I can't help you. Sorry, I'm going to go to the class, and I'm going to learn this level stuff. All right, it's hard, good. That's going to be the first thing I study. I'm going to learn it. But I don't think that I don't know enough to say if this guy's making up or not. But you sometimes get the skepticism out of people, and that's it. And guess what? They're gone. To hell with it. I'm out of here. They leave. They're gone. And a portion have left. They just didn't get past this first evolution stage. All right, all better, all power to them. Sorry, kid. Didn't mean to skin your knee there. The bullfighting was too intense for them. They had to get out of the ring. I understand. All right. Some people just aren't meant to be traders. I guess is the one way to do it, but I honestly think that really it's the monkey brain that's doing it. So anyhow, past that part, now we get into where you start to get serious about trading. And this is developing proficiency at projecting biases of individual pairs. Okay, this is why Jim is showing you these 1-hour charts ad nauseum every week. What does it look like at the end of the day? What are you expecting? Where's it going to go? That's exactly the type of training that needs to happen in your world, and it's called H1-based flashcard creation. So you're making flashcards on the 1-hour chart. It doesn't require the viewer. It's very, very simple. You take it to the hard right edge. It's basically what I've been doing with you guys from the beginning here. And then you have a nightly projecting sheet for observing your progress and development of this skill set. It's a great way to start trading before you put any money on, before you do anything. Just try to get your directions right of your trades, and that's why I have this sheet that we have here. So I guess that flashcard never made it. Let me pull it up. I have a couple simple ones here. Just drag this over. I have a very basic checkdown sheet. It's not very involved at all. I put the news up, and then I put the AFPs that I'm expecting. I'll usually tag the date on here. The date didn't make it on this one. But you can easily just plug in, okay, I see NU long, looks like level 1. Actually, NU short, rather. GJ short and NJ short. Okay, this is what I see. Did this at 6 p.m. Heck, you could sleep all day, all session, come back the next morning and see how you did. If you do that and you get to the point that you can pick which pairs are going to move in which direction, you're in a really, really good spot. Then you're starting to see where these M's and W's are in contact. So that's the first stage, is developing this nightly projecting sheet where you're saying, okay, I see this long, I see this short. Doesn't mean every pair is there. Notice that this sheet only had 3 pairs on it. Those are the only 3 pairs that looked like they had good projective qualities to them. I didn't try to guess what every pair is going to do. That's crazy. You'd be inaccurate, because a lot of them are at level 2. They haven't trapped yet. So you want to get your bearings. You want to get your compass out, and that's the stage that you get to. Now you start getting into the fractional aspect, which is what I just went over with you now, is developing the proficiency of projecting biases and incorporating fractional relationships. Easy, right? It's the same thing. You're asking yourself where in the cycle this pair is at on the H1 chart without a bunch of stuff on it, certainly not all the indicators and garbage. And you're saying to yourself, I'm going to look at the H1 pair family. That's the E's. We looked at the EU pair family, right? We looked at all the crosses. And a flashcard with an eye on selecting which cross pair will have the longest run in the upcoming session. Really fun stuff, and it's not that hard. Again, you throw a projection sheet out. You put a projection sheet out. You jot down what you see, and you don't even have to trade it. At this point, you're learning the skill of biases. And if one does that and then starts trading, my friend, you have a solid foundation. So if your trading is hit and miss and you're falling over yourself, taking M's and W's that don't make sense, please avail yourself to go back and create these H1-based flashcards that give you a sense of where you are in the cycle. Very, very simple. Now we get to the 4th stage of the evolution of the trader, and it is developing a proficiency at acting on these projections. You're developing a proficiency to actually act on the projections, and trust me, the idea of putting your pair in here and putting money on the line is a huge gap. There's a lot of information that goes between those two, and as you can see here, we're only halfway down the page. So there's a lot involved here. Let's walk through it. It's very important. All right, this is my path. This is my particular evolution. Of course, everybody's going to have it slightly different, but I see this first stage when we're first starting to trade these, as we're excited, we're starting to see that we can nail basically all AFPs that come out, I knew where it was going to go. I got the direction right. Yeah, this is getting good. You get into what I call the overworking it chapter in one's trading life. All right, normal. It's okay. You're going to be there. It's absolutely normal. You're going to have to overwork it for a couple of reasons. Why? Because the first stage is the excited monkey. Guess what? The monkey peeing on himself comes back around in stage 4 when he's trying to develop proficiency to act on these trades. Why? Is that he gets the overall direction right, but gets stopped out of a lot of trades. I get those emails a lot from people with early exposure to AFP. Jim, it's great. I know where it was going to go, but I got stopped out. I keep getting stopped out. All right, that's stage 1, excited monkey. Great. It's over-enthusiasm stage, normal. You don't want to criticize it. It is what it is. You're excited to be able to project, but still chasing entries on the N15. Okay, you're either chasing them so your entry is too deep in the structure that they pull back and you get stopped out, but you're generally not taking it at the optimum spot. That's fine. Now the emotion here is greed. All right, you got to watch greed. You get all excited, you know where the market's going to go. That doesn't mean fire orders just to get in, but you got to deal with that. That's it. So put the monkey in the back seat, solve his problem by starting to improve your stop loss placement. Okay, the monkey's still there at this stage. I think he's not. You don't get rid of the monkey until down at round 4 or 5, but you're improving your stop loss placements. That's the point you get where, okay, I can take this trade way late in the structure. I can basically chase it. I know where it's going to ultimately go, but now I know my stop loss goes above trap area 1, trap area 2. Okay, so my stop's 45 pips deep now, but at least I'm not taken out. So that's the next stage. My sense of missing out on some AFPs has me in early, holding through drawdown. All right, it pulls back 30 pips. My stop is 45 pips, but they mostly do work out. All right, so you're starting to be able to hold your trade, but you're not entering at the right place. You haven't refined your game on the 15-minute yet. Yeah, but now what starts happening is that since you're in drawdown all the time, since drawdown is a good friend, all right, you're in early in these AFPs and you're in drawdown, guess what? You're going to cut your trades early. And it has to do with pain aversion. It has to do with risk aversion. You're in positive. I better cut it while I'm in positive because I've been in drawdown for 2 hours, right? You feel it in your neck, your back, your body. Right? Monkey's still with you. Trust me, he's still there. And your emotion at this point is regret. Regret is a big part of trading. Remember, you don't want to miss out. So when you see that AFP moving at 9:30 p.m. in the Asia box, you're taking it short in your pound Swiss. Right? So, but you get your stop loss outside so you can endure the pullback. Right? So you're getting there. Stage 3 is the multiple entries to maximize your reward risk ratio, your high or low day skill set. You start to add another couple orders in. You get your early order. The monkey's still there throwing the trigger early. You have your stop loss outside properly, but now you're putting another order as it climbs up to maximize your reward risk ratio. This is where your high or low day skill set development comes in. This is a very desirable stage to be in, guys. This is fantastic. This is when people ask me, Jim, what's the secret indicator? And I tell them to go look at an M1 chart, and they start grabbing highs and lows, 4 pips from the high and low. So yeah, you can use it if you want. It's crazy, but there's a point where you don't need it. Anyhow, we're still in the overworking it chapter, remember? This is the overworking it part of trading. Wish I could find that NJ trade. I wanted to show that. Yeah, it's all right. We'll show it at next week's session. It's more apropos for looking back. Anyhow, so he can pull 2% on each of these, but I have to really work at it, but still I cut them early. So you have a tendency when you're working this hard in here to cut these trades early, right? So that's the problem with enduring drawdown. Now, what you start doing is you realize that you have a positive net equity curve here. You're still entering a bit early. You're taking these high and low day entries. You can pull a certain amount of percentage, and instead of altering your game, instead of really finding the joy spot to enter, you say, I can just increase my leverage up to about 3% over the combined entries. I have maybe 2 entries on my AFPs, maybe 3. I can up it all to 3%, and guess what? I can grab 30 pips in a range, pull 3% out of the market, but even still, I cut them early because they run. So you can see this working at stage. You're enduring a lot of drawdown. It's the stage where we basically get drawn down a lot, and that has to do with our excitement. It has to do with this over-enthusiasm, right? Then we get into stage 5, which is where we start using the 80-20 partial close. Okay, this is a script that we have in the AFP section of the form that allows you to close 80% of your position and leave 20% on. So that actually starts to change your thinking a little bit, because you're saying to yourself, even though I am in early with heavy leverage and several entries, at times I muster the will to only close 80% of the trade and let the 20% run to plus 50. Okay, chances are when you're working it this hard and you're this excited about AFP, you're not letting it run to 50. That's what I've noticed definitely personally. So I'm at this next stage. I'm pretty much at this 6 here. Letting that 20% position go for days to become a swing trade. All right, that's when you really start to see, and this is what you go, wow, that swing trade portion of the trade is so easy compared to all this work I'm doing at entry. And if you saw that GF went down for days and days and days, it had 3 days of drop. So you start to see that maybe there's an easier way than having to work this hard at all of these trades. Okay, what is it? Well, it's very simple. Okay, 20% of your position. Remember, you've done an 80-20 close on all of your entries. You're using heavier leverage, you do your close, and instead of cutting it at 50, you now let that thing run. So now you're seeing this, you're starting to see this trade work for you, and there's nothing, you're just watching it. It's a lot easier. So that brings us to stage 5, which is refining your M15 skill set to achieve no drawdown entries. Okay, this is where I want us all to be. This is why I have you going back and looking at the WSM viewer, and it's also why I don't put the entries in there. Okay, I want you to be able to see them on your own. I want you to have your evolution. It's very important to go through this first stage. Very important for you to see it on your own. Okay, makes for a stronger development. This stage is what I call the making it much simpler chapter in one's trading life. Okay, work less for the same gains. Okay, a lot of traders in our group are at this stage. Instead of having a foot soldier in early, having partially mastered the emotion regret, I don't regret if the trade runs off. I wait to only enter at the last stop hunt of the day at or near high of day, low of day. Okay, so I'm waiting for the stop hunt, and I'm able to pick and see which is the last stop hunt. And I think about that. You're starting to get a sense of where the last stop hunt is. You're not trying to ride all this stuff in between. Okay, your monkey's going to be bitching from the back seat because he wants to be in this in case it runs. But you'll have to wait for that last stop hunt. That is a refinement stage that we all go through and that we're all going through together, all right? And because, all right, I wait to only enter, and this is the beginning of it. What you start doing is instead of having a foot soldier in early, having partially mastered the emotion of regret, I wait to only enter at the last stop hunt of the day at or near high of day. And that stop loss to break even feels really great when you get one of those in. I had that in NJ Monday. And I was able to cut my stop loss to break in because I was 5-3, or I think I was under 2 pips from the high day. But either way, what you start feeling is you're like, okay, this is the last stop hunt. I'm going to grab the high of it. So you still, your monkey's still with you. You're still trying to work hard, and then this part drops away in stage 8, mastering entries after the shift bar phase of price action. Okay, now what I mean by that, I will have to draw for you what I mean by that. It's very, very simple. It's that as you have, let's take our 22 trades, for example. Here's your first day. Now here's your second day. Okay, now this first example I said you're going to enter here. And then the next one is that after the shift bar you enter. Okay, Carr has a really nice thing where he's got the 50% pullback. This would actually categorize in this area. He waits for the 50% pullback. Here is your shift. And he waits for price to come back up and it throws a little pin, and then you get that other entry. So that's what this entry is an entry after the shift candle. Okay, so that, let's just put that aside because we'll pull that one more time. So mastering entries after the shift bar phase of price action. You might get a high of day entry, and then you might get an entry after the shift bar. That's normal. You can see you're starting to work your game. For the longest time you were early. You were getting your orders in early. Let's draw it out for a second. I'm going to go back and do this one clean. AFP. For the longest time you were in early. The day you were in here, you were taking it, and then it came down and did another thing, and you endured it, and you're up. So then you start working your order, and you start getting behind it a little late. Now the idea is that at some point you're going to get it just right, and that's a one-to-one game. That is really between you and the charts. We try to use rules for it. That does help. The 13 EMA rule, the trade only on closed candles rule. A lot of these rules help, but it's really going to be that savvy that you develop. So you see this from the deep string entries after the shift bar phase of price action. You might get a high of day entry, and then you might get an entry after the shift bar. That's normal. You can see you're starting to work your game. For the longest time you were early. You were getting your orders in early. Let's draw it out for a second. I'm going to go back and do this one clean. AFP. For the longest time you were in early. The day you were in here, you were taking it, and then it came down and did another thing, and you endured it, and you're up. So then you start working your order, and you start getting behind it a little late. Now the idea is that at some point you're going to get it just right, and that's a one-to-one game. That is really between you and the charts. We try to use rules for it. That does help. The 13 EMA rule, the trade only on closed candles rule. A lot of these rules help, but it's really going to be that savvy that you develop. So you see this from the deeper instinct portion. That's when you really get it just before the stop hunt. I'm sorry, just before the shift. All right, so let me get to that. That's the next one. So here he is. Since my high-low day is now in safe break-even, I can use the extra available risk to put one on after the shift bar. So he still can see he's starting to work hard, and then you come to stage 9, enter like Steve. It's basically what it is. There are no qualms about it. The guy's so easy about what he's doing. Again, refer back to that picture of the water, that nice smooth water there. Laugh out loud. It is funny, but it's true. I can now know where the last stop hunt of the day is and can enter before the shift bar. Right? I enter before the shift bar, but after the stop hunt. That's the joy spot. All right? That's going to take time for you to, whoops, cut that. It's going to take time for you to be able to get that. It doesn't come right away. There's going to be an evolution point that you go through, and honestly it has to do with taking each one of these trades that I show you and go back through the viewer and find out where was it just before the shift bar happened. In this case, we caught it just before the shift bar. All right, it was right in here. This was just before the shift bar. This was our second stop hunt of the day, or our last stop hunt of the day, rather. It was the second stop hunt within this W. All right, so you're going to eventually get to the point where you enter right before it takes off. Right, that's where Steve's at after 12 glorious years of this. It's where we all want to be. And I wish there were a quick way to get there, but sorry, it looks like you have to go through all these stages to get there. That's all right. Okay. Now, it's using the WSM viewer, I ask myself, where is the pre-shift bar no drawdown entry? Really simple. Let me blow that up for you. When you're doing your homework, ask yourself, where is the pre-shift bar no drawdown entry? Okay, you're going to see that. You yourself are going to go in and look for those. Okay, that's very, very important. That's the best place to order, to make your order. That's where you get in. Okay, very cool. Stage 10, I take 3 or 4 trades a week and pull 4% from each. Double the account every 5.5 weeks, maintain an 80+% hit rate, and don't work nearly as hard as I did in stage 8 and below. All right? So this is the evolution that we are all looking to achieve. It is very doable. We really want to work it hard in here. That's okay. That does actually come in handy because that is all of the experience that's building up to being able to see exactly when the last shift bar or last stop hunt bar happens into pre-shift bar. So being able to see that last stop hunt of the day is part of the high and low drill. So you don't necessarily need to trade that when you're at this more proficient stage. You see that there's the high of day. I know he's got it. I know he's going to turn around here. All I need to do is see him pull off of there. Then I can get in right before the shift bar, and there I am, no drawdown entry. Okay, so that's where we're headed. And then we only take 3 or 4 trades like this. It is like an apprentice to a journeyman to master trader. It is, Stephen. That's a great way to look at it. This is, yeah, but this is the thing. You have to do this on your own with yourself, with the viewer. We do what we can, but we're trading as well, so we're not always available, right? So the emotion of this stage actually is love, or a sense of ongoing abundance. Now, love is a misused term in our culture. It really means a peace, a trust, understanding that there's always enough. There's an ongoing abundance. I no longer have this greed and regret. I'm trading from the fact that these setups are going to happen over and over again. Okay, that's what love is. You love what you do. Imagine a pilot who loves flying. He's one with his plane. Right? He loves the skill of flying. Some people love the emotion of trading because they've made it easy for themselves, but they had to go through all these stages in whatever form they did. This is my particular path, so you can take what you need from it. Right? No fretting that 12 plus AFP 22 trades go by that you may have missed. That's gone. That emotion isn't there anymore because you know you'll get your 2, 3, or 4. Only keen on those perfect 3 or 4 trades a week. Now, we've gone through this before. Got to take out our Excel sheet with a $10,000 account. If you can grab 4 trades at 4% a week, that's 16% a week. You can start with either $10,000 or $2,500, and you get to a mill within about half a year at $10,000, and it's only a couple months later with $2,500. So it doesn't matter how much you start with. Okay, once you're at that higher stage, that's where you want to really put the money on. One thing I want to say, let me go back here. If you are in this area of level 4, if this is how you're trading, if you're here in the overworking it section, please take your risk down. You will be very happy because as you decide to go into the next phase of your trading, you will have that account there. You won't have burned through it. Okay, that's the problem with number 4, is that you can burn through accounts with all this stuff, all this overworking it, letting it draw down on you, all that. You burn through it. Only when you get to stage 5 are you then, I would say, best to up it. Okay, so that's when you up the risk. So moving forward, when you are at that stage and you're taking 4 solid trades a week at 16% a week, you take your initial deposit out in a month, right? In a month, you're taking your initial 10 grand out. You start over. Still cranks up. Right, still, and then of course when you get down about half of a year in, maybe 6 months in, heck, you can take 50,000 out, because that's about what you pay if you come on our charter. It's going to be about 50,000 a couple, do about 7 couples, and that's what the charters are, about 350 grand a week. Sounds crazy, but it's doable even from a $2,500 account. Take your initial investment out after getting your 16%, and down here, not too far behind the other guy, you started with 2,500, he started with 10, but you can also come onto the charter with your 50 grand, and it's basically just dropping a week of income, right? You're already making 46 a week, right? These are real numbers. This isn't fakery, right? So let's just go back and look at that a second. So pulling out 50 for a charter, all it does is it delays 1 week of earnings. 1 week of earnings. Think about that when you're taking money out of your account. What does it do to your balance? If it's only that which you've earned the previous week, up to about 46, in this case up to about 43, then it's okay to take it out. It's like taking a week off. Come on the charter with us, right? This is the objective. I want you guys to get to that 5th stage of trading so you can take these trades and have no drawdown entries. That's going to give you the confidence to not only put more risk on, but to let it run to at least 50. Right? If you're not in the world of drawdown every day, every night, it's going to be a lot easier for you to hold your trades. That's the emails I get. Jim, I'm doing great, but I can't seem to hold my trades. I cut them early. Well, go back and review that evolution, and you'll see that the best thing to do is to wait for the stop hunt and then trade right before the main shift bar. And there's an art to it. It will take some time. Don't rush it. That's all right. Okay, ran over a little bit, guys. Sorry about that. Going to see you on the charter. I know that